Downtime actions in Dungeons & Dragons are a great tool to use in your games to give your players something that makes them feel like their character's really living in the world. It allows them to explore so many possibilities when they're not out in a dungeon or seeking some sort of monster out to destroy. And so I put together a homebrew list of a bunch of different downtime actions that you can use in your game, have them all available over on my Patreon. There's a set of 10 that is totally free, and then there's the expanded list, which adds 3 new ones. That's going to be pit and arena fighting, business investing, and gambling that you can get if you become a patron or for a one-time purchase. Now, I know many of you may be jumping over to check them out right now. However, if you would, please let this video continue to play as you do, so it'll help this get out to more people. With that being said, let's talk about which downtime actions I have. We'll start with Alchemy. In my downtime action, you can craft things like healing potions or poison. The stronger the poison or the healing potion, the harder the DC and the more expensive it is. However, it's still cheaper than going and buying them from most shops. The player will do a crafting roll and then will be able to purchase as many as they rolled, so long as they have the gold. Next up is something that people love, and that is training. In my training table, players can learn how to improve a skill, learn a language, a tool proficiency, gain proficiency in a skill, gain proficiency in a saving throw, learn new combat maneuvers, aka feats, or improve a stat by 1. Each of these will require a varying number of downtime actions because, well, they're really good. If you can do it in one shot, then that is way too overpowered. Not only that, but there will also be a gold cost because, for instance, if you're trying to learn a combat maneuver, somebody's teaching you that, or you're putting in resources in order to be able to learn that, so you're gonna have to pay 1,500 gold, and it's going to take 8 downtime actions. Now, you can speed this up or slow this down depending on what you roll on your training outcome table. As you can see, if you roll a 1 or a 2, training goes slower than expected. However, if you roll a 19 or 20, you are highly efficient in your training, and it actually reduces the required downtime by 2. So if you roll this on your very first one when it's 8, now it only takes 6. The majority, however, will fall between 3 and 14, and that means that training progresses as expected, and there is no changes in time required, meaning it's still going to take the 8. With this table, which you can adjust if you want to, basically if you roll a 1 or a 2, it can slow it down. 3 to 14, it's going to stay the same, and then it goes for speeding up by 1 or speeding up by 2, so it really does favor the players in this regard. But keep in mind, you get to control how often they get downtime actions. I'm not saying to give them a ton so they get this quickly, but I'm also not saying to never give them any, so 8 downtime actions feels like a year. But ultimately, that's up to you in your game. For those players more interested in the roleplay aspect, I've also created some community engagement and social activities. Now, the way that I use this is that my players need to tell me what it is they're trying to do. The examples I give are you volunteering to help the needy? Perhaps working at an animal shelter? Are you networking with the local guards, nobility? What are you performing and where? Because those specifics can impact the results. So for instance, charity work, you'll do a D20 plus your charisma bonus. And then you'll get results depending on exactly what you end up at. A 1 through 5, the local community is skeptical and you gain little favor or resources. However, on the flip side, if you get a 20, you earn widespread admiration for your charity work. You unlock access to resources, influential allies, or you may even get a small magical item. I'm giving the blueprint to you as a dungeon master to decide what you want to give in response. These are not hard and fast rules, so you can decide for yourselves depending on what charity work they do and where. Moving on, we go to the networking portion. Here it's very similar. You roll a d20 plus your charisma bonus. A 1 through 5 will mean that the figures that you meet are unhelpful, or you make a poor impression. All the way up to, with a 20, you establish a powerful connection that may provide direct assistance in future quests like access to exclusive areas, wealth, or information. And the last one in this section is a performance roll. This one isn't just a d20 plus charisma, it is actually a performance roll. So if you have the skill, you get to use it here. A 1 through 5 means your performance is poorly received and you earn little to no gold or favor. Once again, all the way up to a 20 where your performance is spectacular. You gain significant wealth, which I have here as a 1d10 times 50, which means, hey, if you roll a 10, you just got 500 gold because people really loved what you did. And you gain the attention of influential figures who may offer powerful allies or quests. Next up is magical item crafting, and I did this in my game as a way for players to be able to get magical items for cheaper, but they were giving up time, so they couldn't just walk into a town and say, here's 2,000 gold, give me my item. Now it's, hey, here's 1,500 gold, but it's going to take you 2 downtime actions to get it. So you can see on the chart that it is the regular cost to get the item, 1d6 times 100 for uncommon. However, if you craft it, you only pay 65% of the regular cost. It will take you 2 downtime actions. So you would initiate it in the first downtime action, and then after your second, you would receive the item. And it's the same for a rare, except for you'd pay 70% and it would take 4 downtime actions to get. But saving 30% on something that could be tens of thousands of gold is not a bad deal. Now we'll talk about rest. I created this as a way for players players who just wanted to say, hey, my character's going to kick their feet up, have a spa day, just relax, just recover from the previous adventures, that they could get something for that too. So with this one, if you spend your downtime action resting and recovering, you get the following benefits. You'll get 3 times your level and temporary hit points that stay until they are removed by damage. These are not removed with a long rest, which means if you are level 5, you are going to get 15 temporary hit points and they are going to stay until you have been hit for 15 damage. Not only that, but you get a +1 to the first 10 rolls after this downtime action. And this applies to everything. So they're going to run out pretty quick because for every attack, it's a +1. For all damage, it's a +1. And so it's going to run out quick, but that first combat or encounter that they come into afterwards, they're going to be rejuvenated and able to make the most of it. Next up is religious service. With this one, you spend your downtime in devotion to one of the gods worshipped on, I said Vasilia because that's my world, but you can do whatever you need to. You will then make a devotion roll, just a straight up d20 to determine if there's any response. If you are a religious character, you will add a +2 to your roll. I said religious character because I'm not limiting this to just clerics and paladins, but you could. I'm saying any character that role plays or is a class that is basically built around religion. So yes, your cleric and your paladin, maybe your druids, but also maybe your fighter, their roleplay aspect, their personality is deeply religious. They could use the +2 as well. And you as the DM can then decide if something comes of it, right? If they roll a nat 20, they add their 2, they get a 22, maybe you decide that they get free casts of guidance or something like that. They get an inspiration. That's totally up to you because I'm not going to tell you what the gods can do in your game, but it's just something that I give my players the option of doing. Moving on, we're going to talk about the work downtime action. You can find work as a craftsman, a bodyguard, a teacher, performer, temple acolyte, or whatever non-adventuring work is applicable for your character. You will then earn 20 gold pieces times your level in income. So if you're level 10, that's 200 gold in your pocket from a downtime action. I also include research in this one, but it is very much a what do you want to research and then I'll build it from there. So this one isn't like fully built out or anything, but it's something you can use. So that concludes the base 10. However, I have an expanded list that again adds business investment, pit fighting or arena fighting, as well as gambling. The pit and arena fighting is very intense and it's very intricate because it varies from small town to large town to small city to large city to capital city, and they each have their own rewards and difficulties. This is because a small town has less of an audience and less competitors that are really trained. However, when you step into a capital city and the arena, then you are going to be going against some of the best in all of the region. A large crowd means large rewards, which means lots of competitors. So players need to be pretty good by the time they step into the arena of a capital city. This allows you to put in a system of progression. And I have all of it laid out in my downtime actions with all the roles that you'll need and the basis. The same is for business investment. It tells you how you can use it, how it applies to each character and different skills and different abilities and things like that. And then gambling is a pretty simple one. If you want to check those out, you can go to my Patreon, become a paid patron at any tier, or you can do it for a one-time purchase over there. I believe it's $3. Either way, even if you just want to use the regular, if you want to support me making more cool stuff like this, please consider becoming a patron over there or a member here on YouTube. Anything helps. Thank you all for watching, and let me know what you think about the downtime actions down in the comments. If you'd like to add one, something you'd maybe want to see me make a system for, and I may end up doing it. And before you leave, make sure you click that subscription button, give this video a thumbs up, and even if you have nothing to say, leave an emoji down in the comments because it helps dramatically with the algorithm. Until next time, good luck in your adventures.